What's next for U.S. policy in Syria could depend on what happens this week in Moscow. The recent cruise missile attack from the U.S. Navy has angered Syria's most important ally, Russia, at a time the White House was hoping to find common ground. ABC's Richard Cantu has more.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson arrived in Italy Sunday night en route to Moscow, where he hopes to mend fences. A tough talking warning from military commanders defending the Assad regime in Syria says the United States crossed red lines by attacking Syria. A joint statement from Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah. And the commanders threatened to retaliate against any future military action, adding Russia and Iran will not allow the United States to be the only superpower in the world. The United States is still investigating whether the Russians were involved in this chemical attack last week that killed more than 80 Syrian civilians. Speaking to ABC's George Stephanopoulos, Secretary Tillerson sounded conciliatory.
Well, George, I've not seen any hard evidence that connects the Russians directly to the planning or execution of this particular chemical weapons attack. And indeed, that's why we've tried to be very clear that the Russians were never targeted in this strike.
The Syrian base that was targeted Thursday, though damaged, is now back in action. These Russian-made Syrian warplanes seen taking off. What does the White House have in mind for Syria? United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley suggested it might be regime change.
We don't see a peaceful Syria with Assad in there.
But the Secretary of State says our priority in Syria is the defeat of ISIS.
And in that regard, we are hopeful that we can work with Russia and use their influence to achieve areas of stabilization throughout Syria.
Richard Cantu, ABC News, New York.